Working on self-esteem is never easy. It takes time and energy and a lot of this thing called effort. However, if we don't know 100% of what to do in order to improve our self-esteem, well, it gets tricky. These 3 questions to ask before you start to give up on yourself will help start focusing on self-esteem and, of course, helping you move in the right direction. Roll it! Welcome back to another video where we've been exploring this whole idea about giving up and quitting and how the two relate yet different at the same time. If you haven't had a chance to see the series on quitting, I will link that one below because it's critical to understand how the two work hand in hand. Self-esteem is incredibly difficult to work on when things are not going right. It's challenging to hold a high level of thought for yourself when things keep going wrong, when you keep tripping up, when nothing positive is coming your way. And as we address self-esteem in this video, the reality is that self-confidence and increasing confidence in any one thing that we do directly relates to self-esteem. In tomorrow's video, we'll touch up on this because it's critical to understand the difference between self-esteem and self-confidence and how they work together. Now, self-esteem is really how we look at ourselves, is how we feel about ourselves and the general level of value we place on ourselves. Based on the things we do, the series of successes and the series of failures, and how we really put value on each one, well, that's where self-esteem is born from. And if you really look back at every single thing that you attempted to do and you kept working on, well, as time went on, if it was successful, your self-esteem gradually went up. If it wasn't, and it kept on seeing that failure aspect, well, your self-esteem kept going downwards. It's simple economics of psychology for humans. Oftentimes when I'm dealing with people in general, not even just clients, people in general, the popular term to use is, I don't think I could do it. I don't think I have what it takes. I don't think I'm good enough. That cluster of words that are all negative. And it really stems from a failure mentality. It stems from past experiences where failure occurred. Fear is the big issue here. Instead of wanting to see change, well, fear takes over and it stops us from seeing change, and we'd rather sit in that comfortable spot of null void whateverness we're in. Even though we hate where we are, we will stay there because it's more comforting to be there than change to get to that place we want to be. So yes, negativity plays a big role in how we self-talk, plays a critical role. If we have negative chatter, we keep telling ourselves negative things, well, what do you think's gonna happen? We'll start to believe it. This is why a lot of the times you see some people succeed when you never thought they would, but if you asked them what they were thinking, their mindset wasn't in a negative idea of who they are and what they are capable of. It was in that positive light that, you know what, I'll keep trying, I'll make it. Perseverance came from that because they kept trying, where the person who is in that negative zone will give up a lot easier. It's something that we see each and every day, and it's something that takes time to develop because self-esteem is incredibly challenging to develop to a place where success can come from. Of course, this all comes from the events that we partake in our daily lives, those experiences. And when we attach people to it, well, now we're in for a storm if the negativity is coming in from these people. If it's positive, well, it changes things. It makes things a lot easier. But when it's negative, and when your self-esteem is low, and when things are not going the way you want them to, that storm becomes quite the hurricane you're not looking forward to dealing with. And giving up, of course, is much easier than keeping on going. The question here is, what do we do with all of this? If you started watching all the videos in this series, you'll realize that these 3 questions apply to all areas of our lives, and most importantly on us, because we need to make the changes that will push forward a positive new us, positive new opportunities, and of course succeeding on those. The idea is very simple. We need to work on ourselves, and then we need to focus on making the right decisions at the right time so that things start to move in the right direction. People will align with you or they won't. As simple as that. You can't help everyone. You can't save everyone. You cannot convince everyone on what is right and what is wrong. They have to make their own choice. And how they respond, how they react to the changes you're making is up to them. Nothing to do with you. We need to remember this so we can start moving forward with our self-esteem growing, our self-confidence growing, and success coming down the road. We need to be able to appreciate everything, including the failures and those small gains, and of course the big successes. This will bring our self-esteem to the next level. So of course question 1 addresses why are you feeling the way you're feeling? What is happening right now and what's been happening? Is it a series of events that has occurred to bring your self-esteem down so far? Is it people? Is it something that's been happening with somebody? Have they been incredibly negative or putting you down in a negative way? What is actually occurring? Number 2 is what were the expectations? A lot of the times I'll talk with people that are in their 30s and they're kind of like in the same situation as me, where at one point they thought they would rule the world. They would be at the top of their game, number 1. They thought they would have everything the way they thought it should be. But sadly, they might have one, but they don't have the other. They might have many things they wanted, but not some critical things. And those little things bring down the self-esteem. Understanding that expectations need to be adjusted as we move forward is critical to our mindset being in the positive and not the negative. Because this is how it looks when you're young. You think you're going to achieve many things, and simply put, it doesn't work that way. Life happens. Life becomes reality. Things happen that you don't expect. Where you think it's going to be this way, it happens this way. And where you see things moving in the right direction, they twist and go negative for a bit. As you grow, you realize that life is never the way you think it's gonna be. We have to plan for all the successes and all the failures and celebrate when things are going good and work hard to move out of a negative situation into a positive one more often than we think we should or thought we would be. Because the reality is that self-esteem is highly influenced based on those expectations. When our expectations are up here and we never even come close to achieving them, our self-esteem takes a hit. And when it takes that hit, well, it's a big blow sometimes, and it's hard to recover from it. In fact, it's so hard to recover from it, you give up on yourself and you don't pursue that dream or that passion you had until years later when your self-esteem builds up again. And it's sad to see that. But I mean, many people have been there. I've been there. I've experienced that, and this is why I am able to relate on this, and this is why I want to be making these videos so people, when they're experiencing it, because I know everybody will, knows how to move forward. Thus, lowering the expectations will help us really gain traction when we start to plan again the things we need to do in order to start seeing success. If we plan, we are in a more likely scenario where we will beat out fear and actually take that so-called risk that isn't really a risk, but it's you getting in a place where you're motivated enough to bypass the fear and bring your self-esteem up just enough to say, I'm doing it. And as that occurs, we're able to look at it from a perspective on question number 3. Why am I giving up? Why was I thinking of giving up? And now we don't have to worry about that question. We can start moving forward in more baby stepped approach, methodology, and actually get some wins under our belt to increase our self-esteem. And we need to be realistic with ourselves. If we give up today, what's going to happen? If we just say, I'm calling it quits, what's going to happen? Have you planned that out? Have you given enough opportunity to yourself to prove to yourself that this is what you want? Or is it the emotional side? Because at the end of the day, all of this is geared around emotions. It's not based on logic, it's based on emotions. And if you really, really focus on writing things down and rereading them each day, based on how you are feeling, you will actually start to see this. Because you'll actually see the logic side of yourself with the emotional side of yourself. And we're talking when the emotions get extreme here, you'll see it. And when they come down to normal and your logic picks up. And you'll see how you're feeling, and we can actually point out the triggers that are happening. And they're bringing your self-esteem down at those critical moments when you need to make important decisions. I encourage you to write. So take a pen and paper out and write. Just write. My name is Nikos Retas. This is mentorsapproach.com. Hit that like button if you like what you see. Of course, hit the subscribe button to get your daily motivational ideas, get you moving in the right direction. And of course, leave a comment below. Leave your story. This is my take on 3 questions that can help. There are many ways that we can address situations like this where we're working on self-esteem, especially when we're feeling like giving up. I make these videos so people can watch them, get ideas, start moving on doing things, and start to relate with others, start researching more on other things people are saying and apply them to their specific situations. And I also do it so people can comment below, start building on their opportunity to help others, because who knows, somebody might be reading your comment, your story, your suggestions. They might relate to them, and you might help change their life.